George is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season.
Oh, Paul George making a statement early. Oh, the sleight of hand. Masterfully done by George.
George measure. George scores. The three takes it all the way downtown and says, good night.
He told me all I want to do at the end of the day is win, and win at a high level.
George. O'Neal goes down. George.
Oh, he's not human.
That's what it's called, being physical with the basketball, folks.
Oklahoma City makes a large statement.
If y'all didn't quite get it, let me say it again, I'm here to stay.
This is why you have to try. You have to try because you don't get a chance to get a player this good that often.
This is a team, if they could get it together and add another piece and get things going, they could be the third best team in the Western Conference.
Okay, fine, make it anchor.
Here we go, step back three. He got it.
A year ago, nobody gave Oklahoma City any chance of keeping Paul George. None, zero. And he is now committing to stay there because they did all the right things to try and keep him there.
Paul George sticks with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and so that puts them where in the Western Conference? We have a difference of opinion.
Oh, yeah, we shake it up
Brady
again.
and Greg Anthony. Third or sixth? Third, fourth, fifth. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'll go first on this one, Jay. I think now with Paul George getting it out the way, no cloud over his head, is he staying or going? Now he and Russell on the same page. I guess the only question I have, I think Melo's going to be okay and stay where he is, too. Now with all three of those guys on the same page, Billy Donovan knows exactly what he's dealing with, GA. I think there's no bump in the road earlier. I think they finished three.
I think they should be better than they were a year ago. But that they still have serious concerns. Remember, was still a team that got knocked out in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they haven't made any big moves outside of being able to secure Paul George. They still have other concerns, a lot of inexperience outside of that core big three. And so we got to see how that plays out. You know, Roberson comes back healthy, hopefully.
That's
another one.
That's
another one too. Tell him, yeah.
But listen, I think it's going to be exciting to see them together, knowing that could be their core, that too, long term. But they're still probably a piece away from where I would want to say they are a legit contender to win the West.
Well, the other question for them is what happens with Carmelo Anthony because of their luxury tax situation. Their payroll is enormous. Well, there's some speculation there could be a buyout potentially, a stretch provision, something.
If you buy Carmelo out and you're not bringing in some other young pieces, because now
you're going to get worse.
Then there's no way you can continue with those other two teams. I think you have to figure out to keep Carmelo, and after the season, you figure out what you
And he's got to be better as well.
Yes, be better.
Good
at his worst season as a pro, but there are financial implications to that roster the way it's currently set up. All right, the LA Lakers, LeBron's there now. As we mentioned earlier, there's still not a guaranteed second superstar on that team. You kind of reversed them with Oklahoma City, the two of you, fifth or third.
Yeah, my biggest problem with the roster is all the young talent. Until you can find me some more shot making, that lane's going to be clogged up.
Right.
With that starting lineup right there, until Lonzo Ball makes 10 threes and KCP, I love him to death. Until KCP makes some more threes, Ingram, he's shooting at 30%. It's like it's just not enough shooting right now for me to say this team could be a top 4 seed until they change the roster up a little bit.
But
they got that dude on that team.
There is him.
And he has a tendency to make a lot of other people better. And I think the challenge that's going to be presented to those young players that now that he's there, I think those guys are going to improve. And I think they're going to play better basketball. And don't discount the impact that Rondo is going to have, and Lance Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that he's a wild card in a lot of ways for that group. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a guy that he's proven he can score. He competes defensively.
He's only been good in Indiana so far.
Yeah, but I go back to him having an opportunity to be in that culture, playing with. He's never played with a guy like LeBron.
Right.
You know, played against him.
But to that point, though, LeBron in the playoffs, 85% usage rate with the basketball. That means 4 other guys are standing around. Lance Stevenson standing around, Rondo standing around. They're not that effective.
But I don't think that happens because that again, we say 85% usage rate. it was a team that won 50 games. It wasn't
But
a
that's
great
every
roster.
team. I'm saying, but every
Not
time
the year
LeBron,
before when Kyrie was there,
but
the year they won it, it wasn't 85%.
and neither one of those guys are Kyrie.
Well, no,
That's my point, right.
but Rondo is a world champ. And
Yes.
Rondo is a guy that's going to have the ball. Like LeBron, the whole thing with LeBron and that group this past season, he didn't trust them. And how could you trust them?
Right.
You know, like they had to go 7 to get through Indiana in the first round, right? They had to go 7 and win.
And
a
he had to
game
put
7 on the
ridiculous
road.
numbers in ridiculous minutes.
Yeah, like,
And I'm
like
not,
that
and I'm
team
not
wasn't as
buying
good.
in LeBron's going to trust these young guys overnight like this, the way they haven't been out of the first, haven't even made the playoffs yet.
Well, here's the bottom line
That's the point,
question.
you know what I mean? It's like that's so inexperienced. So
Neither had
yeah.
Cleveland the year he came to Cleveland, they went to the finals.
But they still have Kyrie though.
They still have Kyrie.
Yeah, but I will say
Bottom
Rondo's
line
pretty
question
good.
for both of you. Is this a transitional year for the Lakers to get to where they want to be, or is this a contender year?
Unless they make a
Kawhi,
trade
unless that,
for
yeah,
Kawhi.
unless
That's what I'm
Kawhi,
saying.
yeah, unless they make some more moves.
And that's why he signed for a year.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, more coming up here. Clint Capella is among the free agents who still don't have a deal done this summer, where he and some others are most
He's
likely
going back
be
to Houston
next season. Well, don't spoil it. The L.A. Lakers. More Summer League coming up here, starting with the Spurs and Hawks at 7 Eastern Time. Grizzlies, Jazz, followed by the Warriors and the Kings, and then it's free agent fever at 1 a.m. Eastern Time and 10 out west. DeMarcus Cousins tweeting to New Orleans, to the city and fans, a big thank you from Cuz. Short and sweet this time in New Orleans. Well, not that sweet.
Yeah, it was short. Now, yeah,
It was short.
yeah, it's a little spicy in there now.
Yeah. It's like the cuisine there.
That's right. There you go. A little bayou spice to it.
More fever again at 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Summer League games all night long. It is that time of year.
I love
Trae Young
this time. I love it.
about to get
I love
going.
it.
I
That
got to
shit
go
you
watch
guys
the
can
young
ball
fella.
tonight.
If anything gets signed, we'll have it for you throughout the
go.
we'll see.
What I call negative energy. He's a vampire of energy a little bit. You know, he mopes, he has bad body language, he sometimes doesn't run back on defense, he yells at the referees too much. You know, and he has some personality, what I call negative energy. But in the same sense, championship teams know how to handle that. And I think as I said, I think it's a magnificent move by the Warriors. There could be a problem with 5 All-Stars on the team wanting the ball. But it seems like they do a great job of when it's Durant's game, they let him go. When it's Curry's game, they let him go. When Thompson's making shots, they let him go. I don't see it being a major problem. I just think they made a little bit more step away from everybody else. The gap got bigger between them and everybody else.
It's a good problem to have, that's for sure. George Karl, who coached DeMarcus Cousins in Sacramento, with his thoughts on the deal that sends him to Golden State. A less enviable problem in San Antonio, where the Spurs have yet to figure out exactly what to do with Kawhi Leonard. Superstar talent, best two-way player in the league, doesn't want to be there, and is coming up a season in which he played just 9 games because of that pesky quadriceps injury. So there are a bunch of teams out there who have the option now of deciding to load up whatever they have in terms of assets to try to make a deal for Kawhi Leonard. Boston could be one of those teams. They certainly have the assets to do it. The question is, do you veer from the course you're on with all this great young talent in Boston, a team that came so close to the finals as it was, or do you use some of those assets to go after this superstar guy?
I think if you feel like you can re-sign him, I think you make a deal. And listen, what they did last year was incredible, absent Gordon Hayward, absent obviously having Kyrie down the stretch as well. And we all know how special a talent Jason Tatum is, and Jaylen Brown has proven to be a guy in his second year to make tremendous strides. But I think Kawhi Leonard is not just about you trying to secure your place in the East, but you also have to look at the competition. I think that gives them the best opportunity to dethrone a Golden State, to possibly beat a Houston team that's you would expect could continue to play at a high level. A Laker team now with LeBron that's going to continue to try to revamp, and it would allow you to keep Kawhi maybe from going somewhere else that could ultimately decide whether or not you win a championship.
Right.
So while you love that young talent, listen, they're still not at the level of Kawhi Leonard, and there's no guarantee that they get to his level. You're talking about a guy who was in the conversation as one of the 3 best players in the world. So that's something, if you're Danny Ainge, you have to look long and hard at. As much as you love your young talent, that Eastern Conference, like everyone thinks now that East is all about Boston, Philly's going to make moves to continue to improve. All these other teams that we're not talking about, Washington, Toronto, those teams are still going to be forces in that conference. It's no foregone conclusion while we all expect Boston to be there. They're coming in with a different mindset now. They're going to be expected to be the team. It's a little bit different when you have those high expectations on a young team.
Which would give you more pause? You're thinking about, trading away all these assets, be it draft picks or these young players. The quadriceps injury, which is no small thing, he's had it on both sides, 9 games last season, or the contract status where he can walk away for nothing next summer.
The contract status is first, and if I'm Danny Ainge, can I have that conversation I need to have before I make that decision, knowing that you don't want to talk to Pop. So that's what has my biggest concern, where when Carmelo wanted to leave Denver, he made it very clear, I'm going to be professional, I don't want to be in Denver. Kyrie, behind closed doors, talked to Cleveland, hey, I would like to be moved. Hey, Kawhi, can you please, Paul George, can you please tell me something? So now I'm being personal. I'm tired of hearing my camp this, my camp that. If Kawhi Leonard would have come out and just say, guess what, Pop, I want to be traded to the Lakers. And that's what I want to do. I'll stay professional. I'll work hard. I'm in shape, my legs together. Now, if I'm Danny Ainge, hey, Kawhi, if you really want to leave, can you have a conversation with me first? This is how good Boston is. This is what I built. This is what I did for KG. Right. Now, I can sell Boston on you, but if I cannot talk to you, how can I make that move? That's a bigger concern to me. There's no communication there.
Well, for the moment, Boston has not made that deal. Neither has Philadelphia. So I'll ask you guys to look at the Eastern Conference right now, minus LeBron James for the first time in his career. And here's your power poll as things stand. You both have the Celtics on top.
Yep. I think the only thing we differ is just pretty much the order.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same team. The order can change, who does what, and which other big guys. But, yeah, unless they make – if nobody makes any move, I think Boston still come out east.
I think on paper you know what, though? Let's not sleep on a Toronto team that, with their young talent, could be better next year. Now,
no LeBron, right? No LeBron.
No
LeBron in their way.
They basically won 60 games.
That's right. That's right.
So I don't think I'm just going to anoint Boston just yet. And again, remember, Boston had home court, and as much as we raved about the talent of Jason Tatum, that young group was not a good road team in the postseason.
Right.
Nope.
They won, I think, one road game this past postseason. Mm-hmm. That's not a championship caliber team. Like, you can't win it all if you can't win on the road in the postseason. And so that's another reason. And Danny Ainge's a smart guy. That entire brain trust there, they know that. Yeah, they should improve in year two or in the next year. But if you got Kawhi right, if he's mentally and physically ready, it'd be hard if you could put the deal together to not want to go after. What happens if you're Boston, you hold Pant, and he ends up in Philly?
In Philly, right? Yeah. And that Philadelphia team, which is top to bottom as talented as anybody in the conference, but looked really inexperienced in the playoffs, suddenly they're a lot more talented and a lot more experienced as well. Let's talk about the Wizards here a little bit, who appeared on both of your boards there. They got better today. Added depth to their roster with Jeff Green agreeing to a minimum $2.4 million deal to come aboard in Washington. Pretty good for the Cavaliers, mostly coming off the bench. Did start some, like everybody did, over the course of the season. And he was huge in that Game 7 on the road in Boston when he had 19 points. And they weren't done there because just reported by Jared Weiss, Dwight Howard, who remember was traded by Charlotte to Brooklyn, bought out by the Nets, is headed to the Washington Wizards, who remember traded Marcin Gortat this offseason as well. Dwight Howard is apparently about to become a Washington Wizard.
Well, hopefully very similar. We talked earlier about the Cousins situation, Jay. Maybe this buyout late in his career maybe humbles him a little bit. Now you get around John Wall and Bradley Beal, knowing that now the old Dwight Howard the last couple of years, you won the ball on the block. That's not who you are at this point in your career. And going with that backcourt, you're going to get less shots. But if Dwight Howard comes rebounding, blocking shots, defensive-minded guy, I think he helps that team right away.
You know, they're the team in the Eastern Conference that has quietly made moves to bolster their biggest weakness, which was their bench. Jeff Green if Jeff Green's coming off the bench for them, that really makes this a much better team. Remember Austin Rivers as well.
Gives them a legitimate
third option offensively. He can play either guard position coming off a career year. And then the thing about Dwight, a lot of times he's at a point in his career where the system matters in terms of his ability to be effective. And he's going to play with an incredible passer, two bigs. Because you think about how good Marcin Gortat looked playing with John Wall.
Pick and roll.
And he's a similar – they're going to score similarly. I just think even at this stage, Dwight's a little better at it than Gortat was. And a better defender and rim protector. So this could be a big get. That's why I'm saying, like, the East – like, Bradley Beal and John Wall – they also look at like, why not us? You know, we're close as well. And now they've gone out and made some small moves, but they could have a huge impact on the overall roster.
You know, for all the discussion about Wall and Beal and their relationship and their chemistry and whatnot, depth has been this team's biggest problem over the last few years. Dwight Howard added to the fold, essentially replacing his old Magic teammate, Marcin Gortat, in D.C. On the way, Paul George stayed put in OKC. How that shifts the balance of power in the West.